So we have an update when it comes to this working relationship between AEW and Impact Wrestling, and it isn't exactly the news that we expected from this working relationship. Now, of course, this past Wednesday night, AEW presented a special edition of Dynamite. It was called Winter is Coming. It was one of their TV specials. And it was an incredibly newsworthy show, wasn't it? There was so much news coming out of that show. On top of the surprise debut of Sting, WCW legend, WWE Hall of Famer, the show ended with an AEW World Championship change as Kenny Omega defeated former champion Jon Moxley to become the AEW World Champion. Now, it was what happened after this match that got everyone talking, because Kenny Omega was assisted by current Impact Wrestling Executive Vice President and longtime friend Don Callis for the victory here. And following the match, Don Callis and Kenny Omega quickly exited Daly's place. They got out of there very, very quickly. But Don Callis announced that Kenny Omega, the new AEW World Champion, would be headed to Impact Wrestling this coming Tuesday on Access TV to discuss the championship victory. And then after this, there have been a ton of stories about the working relationship that has been forged between AEW and Impact. Dave Meltzer said it'd been in the works for a while. Don Callis was a big proponent of this. He'd encouraged Kenny Omega to help it work, and everyone, myself included, was incredibly excited about what this meant for AEW and Impact. What did this mean about dream matches, a possible pay-per-view, a possible TV special, talent trades? It could have meant a variety of things, and everyone was very excited to see two well-known promotions team up and possibly sharing talent and sharing TV time. A lot of people were excited. Well, we've got an update as it comes to this working relationship, what it entails, and it's a bit less than I guess the fans thought, because Nick Hausman of Wrestling Inc. is exclusively reporting that the relationship between Impact and AEW is not currently scheduled to be that intertwined. From what we have heard, Kenny Omega's appearance on Impact this coming Tuesday will be a one-off and was largely done as a favour from Omega for Don Callis, his longtime friend and a good friend of Kenny Omega's. Now, Kenny Omega also requested that Don Callis work as the commentator for his big title win over Moxley. By all accounts, AEW President Tony Khan apparently liked the idea and signed off on it. So this working relationship that apparently has been in the works for a while isn't as intertwined as we necessarily thought it was going to be. And if anything, it's just tit for tat, one appearance by Omega on Impact and possibly an Impact tag team. We'll touch on that with a video later today, going over to AEW for an appearance there. So it's not this huge working relationship. It's not this huge talent trade. It's not this storyline of Kenny Omega doing multiple appearances with Impact Wrestling and having multiple matches. It's merely just a one-off kind of deal and tit for tat, like I mentioned, with some talent. And if this report is accurate, and again, it's been reported by Nick Hausman of Wrestling Inc., we'll have to find out more. I haven't seen any report to discredit this yet, so I would assume that it is accurate. If that is the case, that it's merely a one-off and not much of a working relationship, then I must say that's quite disappointing. That is quite disappointing. I think if you look at the buzz that this is generated on social media, if you look at the buzz it's generated online, Impact Wrestling's website crashed when the announcement was made that Kenny Omega would be appearing on Impact when this was announced on Wednesday. When this was all announced, everyone was really excited, and I think the idea and prospect of this working relationship between AEW and Impact, a lot of fans probably expected more. I think a lot of fans did expect more. Given the way that Dynamite went off the air, people were excited that this was the beginning of a relationship and it would lead to a whole angle. I pitched the storyline in the previous video where Kenny Omega and Don Callis not only screwed Jon Moxley out of the AEW World Championship, they screwed AEW out of their World Championship. They stole the AEW World title and they took it over to Impact Wrestling. The comparison was made by Dave Meltzer, and this was actually retweeted by Don Callis, about Bobby Heenan and Nick Bockwinkel in the AWA, and it led to the first interpromotional match between AWA champion Nick Bockwinkel and WWF champion Bob Backlund at the time. I think it ended in a count-out or something like that, and Don Callis had retweeted that idea, and most people thought, okay, that's the kind of scenario we're getting here. It's not a one-off, it's an interpromotional kind of deal. We're possibly going to have champion versus champion, whether that's Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann or whatever, Kenny Omega versus Chris Bay after Final Resolution, Kenny Omega versus Moose a lot of people were excited because it opened up this just huge range of possibilities of what could happen with this relationship. People thought that was what was going to happen here. People thought that's what the storyline was. Whether it was a possible pay-per-view of AEW versus Impact, or a possible TV special of Impact versus AEW matches, or cross-promotion, one on Access TV, one on TNT, one on pay-per-view, I don't know. One on Impact Plus, I don't know. People thought, the sky really is the limit when it comes to what could happen here between AEW and Impact. And I myself, I did a video, I posted it yesterday, be sure to check it out, links in the description box below, talking about possible matches, whether it was Jon Moxley versus Sami Callihan in a death match because of their history from CZW as a tag team. I mentioned Chris Jericho versus Chris Bay, the old veteran versus a young talent with a ton of hype and potential that could be something really special, and a world champion versus world champion match like Don Callis kind of hinted at with Kenny Omega, the AEW world champion, versus Rich Swann, the Impact world champion, and it doesn't look like we're getting that. It's not so much of a working relationship per se, more of a couple of one-offs. We can use your talent for Impact, you can use one of our talents for an AEW angle, and then we'll go our separate ways. We'll be on friendly terms, but that will be it. And I mean, the hope is, I guess from a fan's perspective, if you do want to see more of AEW and Impact working together in the future, the hope is that if it does well, it could lead to more. And I think that's a possibility. There has been a lot of discussion when it comes to this potential working relationship. And again, I use the phrase working relationship a bit loosely now because maybe that's not the case going forward. But there's been a lot of discussion when it comes to this deal, this working relationship. Who benefits the most here? Who benefits the most? Is it kind of lopsided? Does Impact benefit the most and AEW really doesn't benefit that much? I disagree. I mentioned this when I spoke about it first in the video we did on the channel. I don't think this relationship is lopsided. I think this is a balance. I've seen some critics say, Impact just benefits from this the most. What does AEW have to get out of all of this? Well, they have to get a lot of things out of this. They get, first of all, a lot of buzz. Social media has been buzzing since Wednesday because of that episode of Dynamite. Yes, it had the debut of Sting, but because of that cliffhanger, because of that ending, because of Don Callis saying, tune in to Impact Wrestling on Access TV on Tuesday, and now this explosion of, oh my gosh, AEW and Impact working together, that buzz is something they might not have been able to generate themselves. This cross-promotion has allowed AEW to have some buzz. And, right, it's PR. Everyone's talking about Impact, everyone's buzzing about Impact. Therefore, that's what AEW gets out of it. Secondly, and I know I've counted 3 there, but secondly, they get talent. As I mentioned, we're going to do a video later on today about it, but AEW, by all accounts, is going to get a tag team to face off against the Young Bucks on AEW television, pay-per-view, or whatever in the future. So they get a lot out of this deal as well. And when it comes to Impact Wrestling, what do they get? Of course, they get massive exposure. They got name-dropped at the end of Dynamite on Wednesday. They're going to get ratings. I have no doubt in my mind that Tuesday's episode of Impact on Access TV is going to be the highest rating they've got in years, and especially on Access TV, it's going to be the highest rating they've got on Access TV. And then thirdly, of course, they're getting talent because they're getting an appearance by Kenny Omega. It's win-win for both promotions. I don't see this argument, oh, it's totally lopsided, what does AEW have to get out of it? There's a lot to get out of it for AEW, from an AEW perspective. That's why Tony Khan agreed to this. I mentioned earlier on in the report, he liked the idea because he saw the benefits for AEW rather. That's the situation. It's not lopsided in the least. And my hope is when it comes to this report from Wrestling Inc., my hope is that this report isn't totally accurate, because I would like to see more of a flourished relationship between AEW and Impact. I think, like I said, I think it's beneficial to both parties. Although it would appear that maybe, like I said, it is going to be a couple of one-offs. I hope it's more than just a one-off, because not just from a fan's perspective, of course the fans were incredibly excited. Of course the fans were coming up with all of these prospects of talents that could face off, talents that could appear on various programming, what it could mean for AEW, what it could mean for Impact. On top of that, the talent of both Impact and AEW seemed really, really excited by this possibility. The buzz was coming from the fans, but the buzz was also coming from the talent on both rosters. You had Nyla Rose and Jordynne Grace. Nyla Rose from AEW, Jordynne Grace from Impact Wrestling. They're going, oh, we could work together again. Of course, Sami Callihan's calling out Jon Moxley. He's put in the gifts of the Switchblade Conspiracy from CZW. People want to see Sami Callihan and Jon Moxley have a death match, do something interesting. Chris Bay, he's been responding to fans on social media talking about he would love to face the likes of Pac from AEW and Chris Jericho. He actually responded to our video we did about the dream matches yesterday. Imagine someone like Pac from AEW coming in and taking the X Division by storm, taking the X Division Championship. I mentioned so many times recently that I think the X Division is lacking, and I think the X Division is missing something at the moment. Imagine Pac came in and just gave that a shot in the arm. It would be fantastic. Some people were even speculating, and I think this is a little bit too far, but people were speculating that there's this fabled second AEW show coming soon, isn't there? And Tony Khan spoke about a second show coming at the end of the year. It's nearly the end of the year now and we still haven't seen it, but it was going to be a second show coming to TNT, and people imaginations ran wild. They went, oh my gosh, it's going to be AEW Impact. That's going to be the second show on TNT. That isn't the case. That isn't the case. AEW isn't buying Impact Wrestling. Impact Wrestling isn't moving to TNT. Anthem still owns Impact. Anthem still owns Access TV. Anthem aren't selling the company. Anthem aren't moving the product off of their own television network, so that isn't happening. The whole idea of the second show is Impact Wrestling, that isn't the case. That just isn't the case. But if you're Impact Wrestling, you want this relationship to continue as long as possible. You want to reap the rewards of getting the ratings, getting the buzz, getting the talent over. Plus, I think from an AEW perspective, right, we've spoken about AEW Dark. How did they improve on that? Tony Khan's spoken about splitting that show into two, making one a development show and one more of a mainstream show. Maybe you can have some of that talent from AEW Dark. If they're not ready for a Dynamite or whatever that second show is on TNT, have them come to Impact Wrestling. Have them learn the ropes there, as it were. You know, have them develop their character and their storylines there. This relationship has got so many possibilities that it just seems like a waste and a shame for it to only be a couple of one-offs. And if you're Impact Wrestling, we've spoken before about the talents that contracts are expiring soon, whether that is Sami Callihan, whether that is Ethan Page, Taya Valkyrie, Willie Mack, Moose, Rosemary. All of their contracts expire either at the end of the year or in the first quarter of 2021. If you've got this relationship ongoing with AEW, that is a very important chip to play in the game of poker when it comes to contract negotiations. If you stay with us, we can get you in the door with AEW. We can work something out. You can do appearances for AEW while you still develop here in Impact Wrestling. That's a possibility. And again, if Impact doesn't have that relationship with AEW after all of this Kenny Omega stuff is done, it's again more difficult to sign these people to deals. And I would have liked to have seen Kenny Omega appear at Hard to Kill. At this point, we don't know if that's possible. The only thing we can see now that if it is a one-off, if it is Kenny Omega just appearing on Tuesday's episode of Impact and that's it, it's not going to affect many TV episodes of Impact Wrestling on Access TV going forward. Of course, this was a bit of the discussion about this whole deal with Kenny Omega on Tuesday, was that, of course, Impact Wrestling, they've already taped all of their episodes for the remainder of 2020 and some episodes of 2021. They've taped all the content up to the Hard to Kill pay-per-view. Therefore, a lot of people said, well, Omega just won the World Championship from Moxley on Wednesday. How on earth is that going to work? How on earth is that going to work? Unless Kenny Omega and Don Callis filmed all of this content at those Mammoth TV tapings a couple of last week without people knowing, without it leaking out. How would that work? Now, obviously, we now know how it would work. It's less intertwined than we thought, which means that they probably didn't have to film all that much content. They're probably just going to film a promo or a vignette. They've probably done it already, and they're just going to edit it into the show for Tuesday. So this relationship going forward with AEW and Impact is less intertwined than we thought, which is disappointing from a fan's perspective. Nevertheless, if it does work, if it does continue to get buzz, if it is something that fans want and respond well to, it absolutely is a possibility. We could see it continue in the future. So if it does work, more can happen. But I think for the time being, we should probably just, as fans, enjoy it for what it is, right? Kenny Omega's going to be on Impact Wrestling on Tuesday, and we're going to get this interpromotional match between two tag teams, one from AEW and one from Impact. We should celebrate that. That is something that we didn't think was previously possible. The reason people have reacted so well to it and social media is still buzzing about it is because it's something we didn't think was going to happen. It's something that is surprising, and it is something that people are excited about. So I know as a fan base, I know I do as a fan, and we do as a channel, because it's kind of the point of Wrestle News 365. We look to the forward to the future a lot. We look forward to what's going to happen in the future. What does this mean? What's going to happen next? What does this mean for AEW? What does this mean for Impact? We look at that a lot, and maybe that's a criticism as a pro wrestling fan. We should maybe just try and live in the moment a little bit more when it comes to pro wrestling and enjoy what we have right now. If this whole relationship with AEW and Impact doesn't last long, and these cameos are just that, cameos and one-offs on the TV shows, we should just enjoy it, I suppose. We should just appreciate it for what it is. It's a storyline that has buzz. It's matches and potential for further developments that have buzz and we're excited to see. And it's great for AEW and Impact. So yes, it's disappointing it's not the intertwined relationship that we thought we were getting. Nevertheless, it's still exciting. It still isn't a lopsided relationship. Both companies benefit greatly from this mutually. And it's something we have to enjoy. And I'm certainly very, very excited for what happens when it comes to Kenny Omega on Impact on Tuesday and this possible tag team interpromotional match in the future. But of course, as always, this is just one man's opinion. What are your thoughts on the updates on this Impact Wrestling and AEW relationship? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I'll do my best to respond and reply to all of your comments. Really enjoy interacting with you guys, chatting about AEW, Impact, WWE, all things pro wrestling here on the channel. So be sure to leave a comment below. If you have enjoyed this video, please do smash a like on the like button. Really does help us out here on YouTube. Go up the rankings and get into people's recommendation feeds if they haven't seen our videos previously. But most importantly, if you haven't already, please do subscribe to Wrestle News 365. You can do that by clicking the bottom right hand corner of the screen right now, or if you wait a few seconds, there'll be a subscribe button at the end of this video along with another video for you to watch. Thank you very much for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.